So now it's time to take a deeper look at the keynotes. We're about waist deep in the waters of understanding your human design chart. I promise you won't drown. You're doing really well. So let's just keep wading in. Okay, so we've seen this before. Here are the keynotes on Mariah Carey's chart. Go ahead and locate the keynotes on your chart. We're just going to go down the keynotes from the top to the bottom and talk about each one. So the first thing we're going to look at is type and strategy. You can kind of see that over here. This is type and strategy magnified. And there's also another little thing here called conditioning theme. Type refers to energy type. Mariah Carey's energy type is a generator. Her conditioning theme is frustration, and her strategy is to wait to respond. So type refers to the 4 energy types or 5 energy types, depending on who you go to for your information. So your type is determined by the definition in the centers, and we're not really going to go into that in depth. I will point out that because Mariah Carey is a generator, she's got a defined sacral center, and that's as far as we're going to go. We look at whether or not the sacral center is defined and whether or not these motorized centers are defined. The sacral, the solar plexus, the root, or the will are defined, and whether or not that energy gets to the throat. And in general, that's how we determine your energy type. Each energy type has a conditioning theme, and on your chart it might say emotional theme, so I may use conditioning theme and emotional theme interchangeably. The conditioning theme, or the theme, it's also referred to as the theme, of your energy type refers to the emotions that you experience when you're not processing energy correctly. When you're holding on to the energy that you're taking in through your openness, and you're not trusting the energy that you're working with in your definition, in your defined areas. So your strategy is what you do to avoid your conditioning theme, to avoid these emotions that you may feel when you're being conditioned. And conditioned really means, when we talk about conditioning in human design, we're really mechanically looking at how you're taking in energy and holding on to it in the white areas in your chart, especially in the energy centers. So your strategy helps you in that alignment process with who you are. It helps you in that trust process to come from a place of authenticity, to come from that place of who you really are, and to release all of this other stuff that tells you that you have to be someone that you're not. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. So your strategy can keep you out of a whole lot of trouble. Looking at Mariah Carey's chart here as an example, as a generator, she will feel frustration when she isn't operating correctly. And normally generators tend to feel like they can be the energy type known as the manifester, and she may try to initiate actions when her strategy tells her to wait to respond. And we'll get into what that means in a little bit more detail, but that's pretty much how that works. She's going to feel frustration when she's not waiting to respond. If she waits to respond, she won't feel as much frustration. And also, by the way, your conditioning theme is also something that other people can feel about you. So other people may get frustrated at Mariah Carey when she's jumping ahead and initiating and not waiting to respond. So here are the 4 energy types, the emotional themes or conditioning themes that each type experiences, and the strategy that keeps them from getting into trouble with their emotional themes. So we talked about Mariah Carey's chart as being a generator energy type. The first energy type here, and they're just listed randomly here, so one isn't better than the other. The first energy type are the generators and the manifesting generators. The manifesting generators are a subtype of the generators, or some people say that they're a type within themselves. It depends on the framework, and sometimes I'll refer to there being 5 different types as opposed to 4. But for the purposes of this slide and what we're talking about today, we can just lump generators and manifesting generators together, because together they make up about 70% of the people on the planet. And remember, we talked about how the generators and the manifesting generators have that consistent work energy through their sacral center. So if you notice how work is structured in the world, it's here to benefit the generators and the manifesting generators so that they can use their energy correctly. And when they're not following their strategy, they will feel frustration. Now, frustration will also come up for generators and manifesting generators when they're about to make a breakthrough, especially for generators. When generators are about to make a breakthrough, or they've plateaued into where they're feeling like they're not making progress, especially on a job or something like that, they will feel frustration. And that's when they really have to stop and wait to respond. Now, the generators and manifesting generators, they have this aura or this energy field that attracts life into them. It's very attractive and open and enveloping. So they're constantly responding. And that response comes through the gut, through the sacral. And for generators in particularly, it comes out of the mouth when they're not thinking about it as something like uh-huh or uh-uh. Now, manifesting generators move a little bit more quickly, so their gut response, their sacral response will come out maybe a little faster with something like yep or okay or something like that. It could be uh-huh or but usually it's a little faster than that. Manifesting generators need to wait to respond, but because they move really quickly, they actually need to inform the people who will be affected by their actions after they respond. This keeps them from moving 3 steps ahead while everybody else is left in the dust frustrated at them because they don't know what the manifesting generator is doing. It also keeps the manifesting generator from getting frustrated at other people because they're not moving with them. The projectors make up about 22% of the people on the planet, and my math may be off here, 70%. Okay, my math may be off here. I think I've got 101% here. Anyway, the projectors make up about 22%, maybe even a little bit more as we progress, as more projectors are born on the planet. This is kind of the era for projectors to be born, because projectors are here to guide, especially to guide manifesting generators and generators in the work that they do. And the reason that projectors are so good at this, or they're built for this, is because projectors don't have a defined sacral center and they don't have motorized energy to the throat. So projectors are designed to sit and wait to be invited. That's the strategy, wait to be invited into things that allow them to guide other people, usually generators, in the way that they're here to do their work, because they're taking in the generators and manifesting generators' sacral energy, their work energy, and they're feeling it very deeply, and they're potentially wise about how that work energy can be used. So generators and manifesting generators, it really benefits you to have projectors in your life so that when you get to the point of frustration, you can turn to them for guidance about how to realign with the actions and the way that you need to take those actions in your life. Getting back to projectors, when you are not waiting to be invited, and invitations are very, very important for you because you don't have the motorized energy to take action necessarily on your own. You need other people to invite you out into things because they provide you with that energy to do what it is that you're here to do. And when you're not waiting and you're initiating, or you're not in a place of really deep self-love and acceptance. This is also how it's experienced. You will feel bitterness. And you may not recognize it as bitterness. It may really feel more like resentment, may even feel like frustration if you're amplifying the generators and manifesting generators energy. But if you really look at it, there's bitterness under there behind opportunities that other people seem to get that maybe you don't get, or about doing more work than you really feel like you should be doing, or comparing yourself to other people and feeling like you're not as far along as maybe they are. So wait to be invited. You know, the key here is to trust that the correct invitations will come at the correct time for you to really shine. And if you do that and you live in joy in the meantime, if you follow your bliss in the meantime, then that alignment will naturally happen. And the bitterness that you experience won't be so dramatic. Manifestors make up 7 to 8% of the people on the planet. Manifestors don't have a defined sacral center, but they do have a motor to the throat. So manifestors, you need to inform before acting because you have the energy to initiate action. Once you're clear on the action that needs to be taken, you're ready to roll. And if you're not informing the people who are going to be impacted by the actions that you're going to take, you're going to encounter anger from others. And your theme is anger. You may also feel anger when someone tries to stop you from doing what you're trying to do. So that may be another way that anger crops up within you. Reflectors, if you're a reflector, you're very rare. You make up about 1% of the people on the planet. You're here to reflect back the health and well-being of the groups that you're in. And if you're not doing well, if you're not feeling well, if something is not right within you, there's something that's not right within the group that you're in. So you're here to just reflect everything. And your chart doesn't have any defined centers. As a reflector, you're very much attuned to the cycles of the moon. So you need to wait a full moon cycle or 28 days before taking action. Your emotional theme is disappointment, and that's because you're kind of like a mirror for all of, or you can potentially be a mirror for all of the dysfunction on the planet, you know. So when there's all of this reflection of dysfunction and the craziness that can happen among people, especially people in groups or just the group of humanity, you know, the group of humans on the planet, you can feel a lot of profound disappointment because you're taking that energy in and you're experiencing it all, right? So if you are waiting and allowing the moon cycles to activate you, because the moon moves through the gates, you know, and it moves fairly rapidly through the gates, and through a whole moon cycle you will experience all of the 64 themes in the 64 gates. So you'll get to really experience how you are and how you're affected by all of those themes. And that will help you to align more with what's correct for you over that time so that you can take the right actions, so that you can live in more delight than in disappointment, because you are aligned to the actions and especially the environments that are more correct for you, that feel better to you, because you've taken the time to feel your way through it. Okay, so this is a time when you can pull out your chart and take a look at the keynotes and identify your type, your emotional or conditioning theme, and your strategy. And you can just write it down here, write it in the notes, just so that you know what it is. And you may even want to make a few notes about some of the information that stuck out for you about your type or your strategy or your conditioning theme.